Welcome to Holy Koolaid Live. I am Thomas Westbrook, your host as usual, and I'm joined by a very special guest, Professor Stick. Professor Stick is a pro-science YouTuber. He goes after everything from flat earthers to anti-vaxxers to crazy creationist, wacko, anti-intellectual, pseudo-scientific BS. It is a huge pleasure to have you on my channel. Real quick, just to kind of so my viewers know who you are. Your channel is called Professor Stick by the same name. You have, I think, over 100 and something thousand. What's your subscriber count at now?
Oh yeah. First of all, thank you for having me on. It's such a pleasure.
Oh, absolutely.
And as for my channel, it's right now it's sitting at about 144 or 145K subscribers. Pretty good. And in case anyone's wondering, I'm not a real professor. It's just a name that I did not expect to take off. So I'm kind of just stuck with it now.
So it's we're gonna get to find out a little bit about the stick, the legend, or the man behind the stick, the
Maybe I'm not a
non-professor.
legend.
So are you actually a stick figure, or is that part also made up?
Oh, well, that part is real. Wink, wink.
I see you're wearing your Halloween regalia for your avatar.
Oh yeah, gotta Halloween has always been like my favorite holiday, so I always celebrate it.
Oh yeah.
It's pretty cool.
So
Yeah.
even your avatar's dressing up. I love it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, so I
Thank
had
you.
a couple questions for you, but normally what I do is I'll interview my guests for about a half an hour, and then at the half hour point, I'll share the link for people to join this conversation to my Patreon. So anyone who's currently supporting my show, Holy Koolaid, if you're not, you can go to patreon.com/Holy Koolaid, and just it takes like 2 seconds. You can pledge a certain amount per video, any level tier will get you access. And at about 30 minutes, I'm going to just post to my Patreon feed a patrons only link to join this hangout. The one thing people need to make sure that they have a mic that works so that they can talk or ask questions. And if you want to be seen, make sure you have a webcam. If you don't want to be seen, turn that off. But yeah, that's really all you need to connect to us is a working internet connection and a mic. But in the meantime, I've got you for about half an hour to drill into a little bit of your backstory, a little bit of your life, how you got started on YouTube, why you got started on YouTube, what your motivations were. Tell me a little bit about your history. Were you always were you always kind of scientifically minded? Were your parents engineers or something, or did you have any kind of exposure to science before getting on YouTube?
Oh yeah. I've had quite a bit of exposure to science before YouTube. Namely, I started my YouTube channel when I was still in college. Actually, about it was like my junior year or something. So before that, I had 2 years where I was studying biology as for a bachelor's degree, and then before that, I did quite a bit of science in high school, and that was sort of why I decided to get into science was actually from my experience in high school. I remember going into my biology class and we would be learning about things like human evolution or like cell division, that kind of stuff, the basic biology things, and that pretty much just sparked my interest. As a result, I decided to go to college pursuing that degree. So I started YouTube, and my story on why I started YouTube is actually not that interesting, and it's also kind of lame. So please don't judge me when I tell you this, but basically, um, I started having an interest in teaching because teaching was something that I regularly did when I was in college. I would help friends and whatnot, but essentially I became a teaching assistant. So I was helping teaching a college level biology course. During this time, it was over. And then because it was over, there was some stupid system that they had in the university where if you taught for one quarter, then it's very difficult for you to get into another one. So I was pretty much out of luck there. And I returned to being a teaching assistant again. So after that, I was like, well, what else can I do? Because I really like teaching. So then I explored other options. I went, I started tutoring some people. I did that online and in person and stuff like that. But then it was sort of underwhelming for me. And then the one website that I was going online to actually teach people, that website kind of banned my account because of some really dumb reasons. So then I was kind of angry about that. And then I decided, well, why not give YouTube a shot? So I came on, I was like, I'll make like 2 videos a week. And I started recording, and I did not expect to get to where I am now. Like I expected to stay below 1K for the rest of my life. So which is hence my name. I put like very little thought into this name. I'm not a real professor. Obviously, if I could change it, I would, but I feel like everyone knows me as this name now. So I'm just like, well, I'll just roll with it.
That's an awesome story because you really blew up overnight. Like you started making videos about the flat earthers, and that just skyrocketed your channel to where
Yeah.
it is
So
now.
the advice I would give to people in general, for at least this is how I got lucky pretty much. There's always going to be growing your channel, but I think that one of the best ways is to make topics that are simply just mainstream. Like if you hear about a certain topic and that everyone's talking about it, make a video quick on that topic, and then people will definitely click on it. And during the time, I kind of rode the wave when all the flat Earth content was sort of blowing up. It's not nearly as popular as it is now, but I did my milking while I could.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. When it flat Earth, and then everyone started talking about like Jordan Peterson and all.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
it was a wave. But I'm curious though, because this is one trend that I've seen within the science communication community is you look at some of these bigger channels that they're not necessarily within the atheist slash skeptic community, but they're still, very, very much like science promoters, science educators, channels like Veritasium and Braincraft and stuff like that. And you hear their backstories, and it's very similar to yours. It's kind of like, I wanted to, I fell in love with science and I wanted to teach it, but all of the opportunities or all the different ways that I could do it just kind of weren't really working out. So I was like, oh, I'll just start a YouTube channel. And then that just like is where it like exploded. And people who are amateur level sometimes in terms of, they don't have, the Discovery Channel behind them. They don't have these massive budgets or something. They're still able to get, funding to support their work just by having YouTube and just doing, YouTube ads and getting the exposure. So
I think
that's
YouTube is. Yeah, I think YouTube is definitely. It's really appealing simply because there's not really many boundaries to getting in, or at least now there's sort of a boundary to getting monetized. But like YouTube was great in the fact that you could do whatever you want on it, and then you'll find a sizable audience. Well, as opposed to if you do other things, maybe they don't have the audience, you won't get your voice heard as much. That's definitely one of the reasons why I started YouTube. I did think about doing it like seeking my passion elsewhere, but YouTube was by far one of those ones that's like, wow, you can do what you love. You can make videos, which is really fun, and then in addition to that, you get a lot of people who could potentially see you, and we're talking about thousands and tens of thousands of people, and I think that sort of experience is just amazing.
Where do you want to take this long term? Would you like to do some, signed some deal with some production company, or is this just kind of more of a hobby, and in the long term you want to be teaching at a university or something, or what are your ambitions?
So yeah, YouTube for me, and I view YouTube very differently from other people. I don't really see this as something that I will potentially do like as a main career. I will most definitely be continuing doing YouTube on the side. But essentially the way I see it is YouTube is great, but I have a bachelor's in biology, and I feel like a lot of the other potential fields that you could get from biology is also very interesting. Right now I'm mostly doing YouTube for now, after I just quit my lab. But in the future, I definitely want to seek out something else. YouTube will just be on the side. But I may increase, like, for example, production value or production quantity. If this channel gets really big, I'll like hire a team or something like that. And it'll definitely just be something there. And I know you're doing this full time, and yeah, I can't even start to imagine like doing it full time. Like it must be a dream to live, but I also feel like that's not really the type of life for me, I guess.
It has its ups and downs, because on the one hand, it doesn't quite have the same level of security as a full-time job does. If you don't put out the videos, you don't get any kind of money from it, and so and even then, like you'll look at like your patrons, and it'll fluctuate up and down, and ad revenue on YouTube is anything but stable. So on the one hand, it doesn't really have the security that a job has, but at the same time, it's like it is kind of nice being able to just work on the stuff that you love. But it sounds like you're getting to kind of do both, so there's definitely upside to that.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, I mean, I think the best part about YouTube is your freedom for sure. Getting to determine your own schedule, but then on the other hand, getting to determine your own schedule can also be not so good. I don't know about you, but for me, I can like many times I can have motivation issues. Like I'd be like, oh, I should be recording a video, but right now I just don't really feel like it. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Are you what was the motivation behind the stick figure? Why a stick figure? You just wanted to talk and it was easy to draw?
Yeah, so I wanted an avatar for sure because I did not want to show my face. That's a starter. And then I wanted to do something simple. So I actually ran through a couple of ideas before I created Professor Stick, what you guys see today. But I thought about it and then I decided for it to be a stick figure simply because when I started in the beginning, I did not expect this to go anywhere. So then I was like, okay, I'll create a temporary avatar and maybe in the future I'll change it if it comes down to that. And then I started asking people once I got off, I was like, yeah, do you guys want to see a more detailed, like better avatar? And then everyone was like, no. So I just sort of kept it. But yeah, stick figures are simple. They're really easy to draw. So that's pretty much why. I'm not really an artist. So
What is the worst blowback that you've gotten from a video? I know flat earthers can be vicious sometimes. Do you get more blowback from young earth creationists, from anti-vaxxers, or from flat earthers? Because you've gone after all of them.
I would say the most blowback would probably be like flat earthers. But there was one video I made on vitamin B17. That one got so many, like I think that's the only video that has more dislikes than likes on it, because for some reason, and usually like the flat earth community is actually like, they're decently active. You come out with a video and you'll guarantee at least some of them would like come and watch it. Meanwhile, if you do something like when I did vitamin B17 on alternative medicine, you don't really hear them come and comment on your videos much. They're pretty rare and they're not really active. So then I was really surprised when that actually happened and a whole bunch of them just started flooding in. For a second, I thought some huge channel or something covered me or something. I was like, where are all these people coming from? But then that just simply wasn't the case. I think that video is just one of those exceptions and I was never able to reproduce that again. But you know, the way I see it is hate is always is going to be, I view it as like a good thing. Right? Because, you know, these people come, they may be disliking your videos, but they're giving you views and attention. So
they're still getting the ads popping up. You're getting that ad revenue flowing in.
Yes.
I think one thing a lot of people don't realize about YouTube is you might make a video that everybody loves, and yet nobody shares, or nobody is passionate or angry enough about it to be like, what the heck, this guy just like posted this video. You know, when you do something like, you know, you talk about flat earth, you're in the right, you're coming at it from a scientific position. But when you post a video, you have this entire community that is so sold on this idea, and in their mind, you're the bad guy. And so they're coming in, they're smashing that dislike button, they're commenting in the comment section, they're sharing it in their communities, going, look at this guy, he just made this video. And what they don't realize is that all of that attention, all of that, you know, YouTube's algorithms see that, and they're like, oh, this video is really hot right now, we should promote it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, I feel like they just don't really know what they're doing. Like they're ultimately helping you, and like that's why deep down I can never hate flat earthers and I can never hate people who I'm making videos against. In fact, yeah, they're paying my bills. Not only are they giving me content for me to make videos on, they're also sending over their viewers to you know, give you that extra boost in case you need it.
Yeah, and you know, the beautiful part about it is like people, I've gone into Google AdSense or AdWords or whichever one it is, that where they have a selection of like what type of ads. Are there any types of ads that you don't want to show on your channel? And I don't know if it just affects your channel or your website or what, but I went in and I actually unticked the religious one, because I was like, that's not really going to resonate with my audience. It's not going to get a whole lot of click-through rate. So, you know, why do I want my audience to be bombarded with a bunch of religious ads when they're, you know, mostly atheists and people doubting and questioning that are watching my videos? And so I unchecked that one. And yet still almost every single day I'll have someone say, oh, I saw this, you know, ad for the Mormon church or something. And I'm like, well, okay, that must mean that the Mormon church is classifying their ads as not religious, or, you know, some Christian church is classifying it as not religious, which is a little
that's
bit
sneaky.
dishonest.
That is sneaky.
Because they're trying to get around it. But I can't complain because they're paying my bills. They're putting ads on an atheist YouTube channel, which is, you know, increasing my ad rates or my ad revenue. So, you know, there you go.
There's also something satisfying about when you take their money. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could take the money from anyone. It could be like, you know, from like a neutral party who's just advertising a product, or you could take some money from this religious organization, and, you know, now you have their money, and there's something satisfying about that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. I have you had flat on your videos?
Sorry, could you repeat that? You're kind of cutting out a little bit.
Have you ever had a flat earther have buy ads to show up on your videos? That you know of?
I don't think so. At least from what my audience are telling me, what kind of ads they get a lot of religious ones, because since ads are like, I think they're based a lot on like the tags you put in and stuff, or what your video is about. So as for flat earth, no, I haven't had a single report of that.
It's only a matter of time as the community gets
bigger. Yeah, they're actually growing so fast. If you actually look at the trends.
Oh yeah,
not sure if it's a good
insane.
thing.
It's insane. It's because we don't teach good science in classrooms in the States anymore. And so people come along and they're like, oh, this sounds like a compelling argument. It's like, dude, have you even opened a physics textbook before? Like, do you know the first thing about like why we know that things are the way that they are?
Yeah.
And, yeah. Most of the time the answer is no.
Not to mention a lot of flat earthers, and this comes for like pseudomedicine as well, they use certain like ways of arguing that is more appealing to people who simply don't understand argument and the scientific method. Being vague is definitely one of them. Not using exact measurements is like one of those, like trying to be as broad as possible. Like flat earthers and pseudomedicine proponents love doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah. No, for sure. One thing that I've noticed too is like they'll regurgitate a lot of the same arguments. So like I saw this video that had, it was like, you know, 10 different reasons that the earth is flat. And, you know, they reference, I think is it the Michelson-Morley experiment?
Oh yeah.
That they love to pull up. And then I watched another video, and I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was Eddie Bravo on Joe Rogan, and he's a flat earther. And I believe he was a UFC fighter. And so he's got this audience, and yet he's like spreading all this BS. And he's like, oh, no, like there was this experiment. And like, he didn't even say the experiment right. Like he called it something like the, you know, Michelson-Morley experiment or something. It's like, dude, like if you don't even know what experiment you're talking about, you're just regurgitating points from a video that got the science wrong to begin with. And it just shows an intellectual level of laziness.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Maybe that's just me.
Yeah. They also reference, what's the other one? Aries, like that one as well. And then they reference a whole bunch of ones. And, you know, these experiments, it's not like they're impossible to reproduce. They could always just go and do it themselves if they really wanted to. Or you could just do like a 2-second Google search, and it would tell you what the actual intention of the experiment was. Yeah.
Or they do stupid tests. Like they'll take a tennis ball and dip it in water. And then I'm sure you've seen this, but I shit you not. They'll throw the tennis ball in the air and spin it. And it's like, look, the tennis ball is spinning so fast, all the water flies off. It's like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, you not understand that gravity depends on the mass of the object. It's like, oh, it makes me want to smash my head into a wall.
I've not seen that. You got to send me that video.
There's a video of a flat earther literally dipping a tennis ball in a bucket of water, and then he just spins the tennis ball and all the water flies off. And he's like, well, if the globe is spinning, why doesn't all the water fly off into outer space? It's like, there's a reason why, you know, when you do physics equations, you have to, you know, take into account all of the different forces in all different directions. And then you can get a rough picture for what's going on. And they're like, well, why don't...
Also why... Oh, sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I think this is like a reason why a lot of people they like watching flat earth videos to begin with. They like watching other people just be extremely stupid, and like they like feeling some sort of superiority over other people, which is why I feel like some contents that you and I both make can receive the level of attention that it does. And I think flat earthers is one of those really easy targets that pretty much everyone can come and universally agree that, well, these guys are idiots. And I feel like it's also forming some sort of community. Like there's also these people that I've noticed in my like my Discord or people who watch my videos who would say like, oh yeah, like they only watch my flat earth videos. And then every time they always comment about that as if there's like nothing else better to do in life. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's fun.
Have you heard the argument where they say like, if the earth is spinning so fast, why don't we feel it?
Yeah, that one's thrown around all the time. I
And
love
it's
it.
like, you're not accelerating at that rate. You're traveling at that rate. Like you understand the difference is like when you're sitting in a car and you're traveling at 70 miles per hour and you're staying steady, you don't feel the acceleration. Like when you go from 0 to 70 and you know, slam on the accelerator and you feel yourself pushing back. But it makes me feel like they dropped out of elementary school. Like they didn't
Yeah.
even make it to high school. Is
Yeah.
what I feel like, or they slept through. But I think, how much of that do you think is that people are just easily misled and they forget stuff? And how much of it do you think is that like the education system, at least in the States, is like we're just pushing people through? You know,
Hmm.
we're not really doing our due diligence to make sure that people are educated. We're just kind of shoving them through and hoping that they turn out okay.
Yeah, they're definitely our education system is definitely not perfect, and there's definitely things we can improve upon. But I do think the main reason that people believe in things like the flat Earth are because of it sort of sets. I think people get like a reward out of thinking there's an us versus them. If that makes any sense, they always they like to demonize like NASA or something, or conspiracy theorists like to do this all the time. They like government for whatever's happening. They make up shit like chemtrails, for example, and then they blame the government. Or they would say, you know, climate change isn't real, and then they blame like some corporation or the government or something like that. And I think part of that is that people get a sense of reward, and they also form a community when they start bringing up these ideas, and then feeling like there's some person to fight against, if that makes any sense.
You know what one of my favorite things to do in the world
Uh-huh.
is I've had a few conversations like in person with like crazy conspiracy theorists who like they believe all of it, right?
Mm.
And my favorite thing in the world to do is to use one conspiracy theory against another. So for example, and here's just one idea that you can do is like whenever they say that climate change isn't happening and that it's just a conspiracy, I'll be like, no man, like haven't you seen the chemtrails? The chemtrails are causing the climate change.
Wait, that's
The
on another
government is
level.
doing it. Because then as soon as you do that, then you know suddenly it's like you're woke to them, and it's like, oh well, like he's onto something, like secret knowledge. It's like he's not just you know buying into the lies of you know NASA and the CIA, but he's all like you know woke when it comes to conspiracy theories. It's just that you know they're all true, but one is or one is
Yeah,
disconfirming another, or
people believe in the craziest shit. Like, I feel like you could find pretty much anything on the internet. People will literally believe anything. So I'm really not surprised.
yeah. Or like they'll start talking about how you know there's aliens that are controlling the government at you know Area 51. It's like, no man, are you insane? It's not aliens, it's Bigfoot. Bigfoot's been around a lot longer than
Yeah.
aliens have.
Yeah. And there's that one that's like,
He
was it
just learned to
4.
fly.
Yeah. There's that one that I heard and it made me laugh for like a few days. It was like what was it 4.5% of Americans or something believe that like lizard men are disguised as humans in the upper
Oh my
classes of our
god.
politics, and they're like influence the politics of the US to something like that, and they
And then
actually
you'll see
came
like
from
a
like,
poorly photoshopped picture of Hillary Clinton with like lizard eyes.
oh yeah, that was part of it. Yeah. It's pretty funny.
Oh my god. Just quick poll of our chat. How many of you guys believe in lizard people? Anybody?
Statistically 5% chance.
And while they're doing that, although I'd like to give my audience a little bit more credit and hope that they're um a tiny bit more, you know, better educated, but I do my part at least. But even man, even within the skeptic community, even within, you know, people who are like, oh yeah, you know, I have a PhD in whatever. Shannon Q says, me. Cody Potts, definitely. Toby Sonnenberg, I believe, I think he means believe. But no, nope, I do, nope, not me. Thumbs up. Chemtrails must be real as they affect chemtrail believers. Shannon Q, I am lizard people. I think Holy Koolaid is a lizard by Forago. Whereas Way One, nope. They live lurking, eating raisin toast off. wait. So apparently, lizard people eat raisin toast. That's what they're here for. They're climbing in your window. They're eating your raisin toast. That is awesome. Also, everyone in the live chat, first of all, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm about to post a link to Patreon so you can join this conversation live and actually talk with us. If you are not a patron, or if you just want a question read on air or something, any super chat, we read all of them on air. I saw one up here. It was a $20 super chat, or I think it says $20, but it says an A next to it. So maybe it's Australian dollars. I'm not sure how that, yeah. From Commander Zoot Helsing. I've read all the Abrahamic texts, the Torah, the New Testament, the Quran, the Book of Mormon, the Apocrypha, the translation of the Dead Sea Scrolls. Holy crap, man. That's some dedication. Impressive. Even the Satanic Bible. I don't understand how people who haven't sheepishly follow. That's a good point. But I think people, because we don't have a ton of time, I mean, we do, but we waste it and we feel like we don't, then we tend to outsource to people who are experts or who are theologians. And so if they come along, or our parents or someone that we trust, and they, take a stance of authority and claim that they know the truth, which every religious leader does, whether they do or not, they claim that they have insider knowledge. If they tell us, then, people are just inherently primed to believe people around them. But yeah, no, it is crazy.
Not to mention, being indoctrinated at a young age plays like a massive role. Like, I'm pretty sure if these religions, if they waited until like their kids were like 12 or 13 or something, where they can at least somewhat think critically and then introduce the religions, we're probably gonna have a lot less religious people in the upcoming generations. There's just a prone to, like, when you're a kid, you don't have that critical thinking ability, and then you tend to believe what your parents tell you because they're like your world. While you're a kid, they take care of you, so then like you always trust what they say, and that definitely plays like a massive role, which is why I'm always like, yeah, we should teach science to kids who are in elementary school, or at least teach them how the scientific method works. Get this ingrained into their heads instead. I'm sure it'll be much more useful.
Were you ever religious?
So I was a really bad religious person. I would say at one point I did go to church, and I did believe in God and Jesus. But other than the church telling me so, that was the only thing I actually did. And then I pretty much got out of it simply due to not being exposed to it for a really long time. And then after getting to high school and then to college, then I started thinking critically. One of the biggest factors, like, I was never really religious, but I never actively called myself an atheist, and I never like actively disbelieved in religion. It was until the Ken Ham and Kent Hovind. Wait, no, it wasn't. Like Ken Ham and Bill Nye. I don't know what I'm saying, but they really got me thinking, and that was pretty much the start of my conversion.
Really? That's interesting, because Ken Ham got a ton of backlash from people who basically, they're not Ken Ham. Bill Nye got a ton of backlash from people who said you gave him legitimacy, you shouldn't have debated him and stuff. But to me, like, as a creationist, Ken Ham already had legitimacy. He was already the real deal. And so when I saw him go talk to Bill Nye, for me, that was kind of a turning point. Actually, I was at SciCon last weekend, and I had dinner with Bill Nye, and I told him in person that debate, there was a question in it that I believe it was Tracy Moody submitted, that it was, what if anything would ever change your mind? I don't know if you remember that question.
Right. Yeah, that question was really a big turning point, I think, for a lot of people. It shows how honest they are. I was honestly surprised when I was watching that Ken Ham actually said that nothing would change his mind. In my head, I was like, wow, even if nothing can change your mind, at least say that you can have your mind changed or something. Oh, yeah. It was kind of hilarious.
It was just so blatantly just disingenuous, because when Ken Ham's like, nothing will ever convince me, And Bill Nye's like, one piece of evidence is all it takes. I was like, okay, I know which one. Like, I'd been told that all the scientists are lying and they're satanic and stuff. And then I saw this blatant example of how it was just the opposite.
Yeah. But, so was that when you started converting then?
Oh, I was already kind of on the process. Like I'd found all these videos about atheism and I was kind of curious. I'd watched a ton of TED Talks. I was taking science courses and I was already at the point where I was no longer a young earth creationist and I was kind of a little bit more deistic, agnostic. I wasn't sure, but I wasn't calling myself a Christian at that point. But I remember watching that debate and literally standing up and just being like, I'm done. Because I'd kind of flip-flop back and forth between church and stuff. And I was like, maybe there's something to it. Maybe I just need to seek God harder. And then I saw that and I was like, all this stuff that I've been told, like it was really in your face, blatant, that I had been lied to.
Yeah. Usually conversion doesn't just take like one instant. It doesn't happen overnight. So I think things like what we do is like, it's really important because people would watch these. And of course, there's not just going to be a single video that just changes somebody's life. And they're probably going to think about it over the course of like a few years and stuff, which is why it's like, in my opinion, at least, it's important to keep going and keep spreading the message of like atheism.
Absolutely. And honestly, like to me, it's not, I don't even really care about atheism. I know that this is going to sound weird, but like to me, that's just the logical conclusion. To me, that's kind of the starting point. That's like ground zero. You know, if you believe in crazy religious mythology, like you can't even start taking part in the conversation. You can't really even start delving into, you know, why we're here, what this world is about, how things work until you get to that point. But to me, I'm more concerned with scientific skepticism because I know atheists who are flat earthers. I know atheists who believe in chemtrails or Bigfoot or all kinds of, you know, crazy conspiracy nonsense, anti-vaxxers, you name it. And I'm more concerned with, you know, do people know how to think critically, how to use the scientific method, and then hopefully use that to try to kind of figure out not just what the scientific consensus is, but to be curious enough to figure out why we got there and why that's the case. But
oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, atheism is just a result of thinking about religion. The scientific method definitely should be applied to like everything. My opinion, and my opinion may be extreme, is that science is the only way that we can use to determine truth about unknown things about the universe. That's just my opinion. A lot of people disagree with me, but for me, if something doesn't stand up to scientific scrutiny, you know, you could either try harder or I'm just going to dismiss your claim. Like science is everything to me.
Oh yeah. I mean, the other methods that have been put forth are like revelation, faith, which is just believing without evidence. And it's every other method of understanding and knowing aside from, you know, actually using reason and logic and science is it doesn't work. It's not reliable, and it's been either disproven or hasn't been proven as a reliable method. But hey, I'm posting the join link now on Patreon. So if you're a patron, you should be able to see it. Let me know if you have any trouble accessing it. If anyone who's watching in the chat is a current patron, even if you're not wanting to get on and chat, if at least one or two people can go and click that link just to make sure it works, you can pop in and say hi. If you want to stay in chat throughout the whole rest of the next half hour, then that would be awesome as well. We would love to see you. Normally, awesome. if it starts to fill up, sometimes we've had, you know, it start to max out. Whoever comes in first will kind of be the first one to cycle out as it fills up so that we can get more people in. But usually usually there's room for at least one or two more to join.
Okay, awesome.
But you were saying something?
What were we talking about?
we were talking about leaving creationism. You said that you were Christian. Were you ever a young earth creationist or were you an old earth creationist?
Oh yeah, I was never a young earth creationist. When I say I was religious at one point, during the times when I was religious, I never actually even thought how the universe or how Earth was created or anything like that. It was only until I started taking high school classes on biology where we learned about human evolution and evolution in general, where like pretty much that was when I actually started thinking about it. I guess before that, the question never came up to me. And then even when I was made aware of what evolution was telling us, I still didn't even know what Christians were claiming until a long, long time later, like probably like a little while before the Ken Ham and Bill Nye debate. And then I was like, wow, these guys believe it's 6,000 years old. That's crazy. So I wasn't even introduced to the idea of young Earth creationists until well after I was out of that religion.
That happens a lot in Europe. I'll talk to YouTubers like, Rachel Oates or Rationality Rules or Cosmic Skeptic, and they'll be like, yeah, man, like we don't really have that over here. This is nuts. I just started seeing these videos about all this stuff in the States. I was like, why is religion that big of a deal? And then they see the madness. It's like, yeah, that's what we're dealing with every single day here in the South.
Yeah.
But hey, we're joined by am I pronouncing your name right? Is it Tovi?
Yes.
Awesome. Welcome. Did I pronounce
Hello?
your last name right earlier? Sonnenberg?
You did. One of the only people who's able to do that.
Oh, fantastic. Welcome.
Thank you.
You were a patron of mine for a while, and then it looks like you just pledged again to join this conversation. Welcome back. And yeah, if you have questions for Professor Stick, then go right ahead. Be my guest.
All right. Well, one thing I was wondering for both of you is, what would you say to a person who thinks that science cannot explain everything? Because I've gotten that a lot from many people.
So I've heard that claim a lot, and other people they would throw things like I would proceed to ask them, well, what can be explained that hasn't been explained by science? Like, what do we accept as true right now that wasn't discovered by the scientific method? And then they would tell me something like, oh, philosophical thought can actually give us a lot of truth about the universe. And then I guess overall it would depend on who you're talking to. I don't know. Did they have a follow-up to that?
Yeah, well, this was in response to this person would see a coincidence or something strange, and they would immediately attribute it to something supernatural. And when I said, "Oh, hold on, there's probably some other explanation here," they would say, "Well, that it can't be science." And my response would usually be, "Well, science is just a way of explaining things, and everything probably has an explanation." And the conversation usually ends there because the person does not want to accept that science is able to explain anything,
Right.
that it's adaptable to the future, and that it's not everything we know right now.
Okay. For something like that, I would say I would compare the idea of coincidence happening, or when people undergo like supernatural experiences over and compare it to the method of science. I would say something like, here's the thing about science. Science is repeatable, which means if one person does it, somebody else can take that experiment, repeat it, and then confirm it's true, which means no matter who conducts that experiment, as long as you're conducting that experiment correctly, you'll always get the same result. Things like the supernatural, or things like seeing spirits, or things like just coincidences happening, is that repeatable? If somebody else comes into the exact same situation, has the exact same conditions, and is doing everything the same way that you're doing, are they able to repeat that experiment and get the exact same? Biggest difference between science and things like coincidences or just eyewitnesses. And I always stress that eyewitnesses is not reliable whatsoever. In the scientific method, it has to be discarded, and it has very little to no value because it's not repeatable and it's based on somebody's subjective experience. Yeah, tell them that and let me know what they say.
Okay. Thank you.
I'd like to add in there whenever someone says that philosophy is a way of knowing, you can get at philosophical truths. It's like, wait, but how are they going about that? They're using logic and reasoning, but even with logic, you have to have premises to work with. You can't just be like, well, all this is this and all this is that, therefore all this is that. Like, in order to get, a syllogism that actually works, you have to have some type of premise. And in order to have something that you can have something that is logically, I get sound and valid switched up, but it could work logically, and yet your premises could be off. And the only way to figure out if the premises are true is by testing it scientifically, by actually observing the world and gathering empirical data. Aside from that, there is no other reliable way of knowing. And if you take all the religious nonsense and stuff and you examine it, there's never been anything that we've known about scientifically that religion has come along and disproved. But it happens the other way all the time.
Oh yeah.
So we also I want to welcome Cody to the chat. Just joined. I think your mic might be muted, but Also, Surus is here, and it looks like he muted his mic as soon as he got in. So welcome to.
Yeah, I'm getting something set up.
Awesome. So welcome. Cody, do you have any questions for Professor Sick? His mic just muted again. It keeps cutting.
There we go.
Technology these days.
There we go.
What's going on?
Wait,
What the fuck is this shit?
hang on. I'm going to click on Surus's video. It looks like he's with some people. Is that Godless Iowan?
Fucking Iowan.
Is my
Oh,
okay,
that's
What the fuck?
Godless Engineer.
The fuck's going on here?
No way.
Oh, what are you guys? You guys have a whole gang together there. Where is that?
Also got KC over there as well.
Oh, hey, Casey.
Yeah, I'm not here.
I'm
No,
a
definitely
drunken
not.
Iowan.
You're not.
And Mrs. Snarky. Yeah.
Nobody.
Mrs.
I was
Are
gonna
you-
say that Starkey and Pam are there too. That was next.
Are you guys in Iowa right now, or where are y'all at?
Yes, we're here for the Godless Iowan's wedding.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
Oh.
So is this the bachelor party, the bachelorette party that we're witnessing?
Basically, this is the party where there's cats being fed
I'm getting ready.
Surus, are you the
and
stripper?
video games being played.
Wait, stop away. Nobody wants
Surus is the stripper for the party?
I mean, I guess I can. Does my hammer count as a pole?
Hey, no more helicopter. Hey, baby.
Well, I've only got Professor Sick here for about another 15 minutes. Thank you for tuning in. That's fantastic. Cody, I'm not sure if your mic is working now.
yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can. You have any
Yes,
questions
already.
for Professor Sick?
Yay.
Not necessarily. I just want to say I am a fan of both of you guys. Actually, just before I got in here, I was watching Holy Koolaid's video on speaking tongues that he put out yesterday, and I was like, I mean, I had to fast forward through the part where he was like speaking tongues because like it was way too cringy. I just had to fast forward through that part. But then it was at the end of the video, and he was like, "Oh, I'll be live tomorrow." I was like, "Oh, is he live now? It's 8 o'clock, right? Refresh. There he is."
Awesome. Fantastic. Yeah, we actually that video, so for everyone watching right now, that clip I found, it was kind of hard to find because I found little bits and pieces of it on YouTube, but I was trying to find like the full thing, and I had a really tough time because it's from like an old VHS tape back in like 1994, and it's of Kenneth Copeland and Rodney Howard Brown, two pastors, and they're basically talking, they're conversing in tongues, but they're going back and forth and they're breaking out in these giggle fits. And it is the most insane thing you will ever see. But they do that for several minutes straight in front of an audience of a few thousand people. And the terrifying thing is that they both have close connections to the Trump administration, and Kenneth Copeland's on his evangelical advisory board. And so right now I'm holding a competition to anyone watching in the chat. Anybody who wants to add captions to that video, just get it to me by this Friday. And the best captions, I'll send you a Holy Koolaid mug. I'll give your channel a shout out and everything. And but yeah, that's going right now. And I don't think I've gotten submissions yet, but I just released that video talking about it. So go and submit it. You got a pretty good chance of winning. And we'll find the funniest ones. I'll also share all of them, as long as it's not like hate speech or something. Like I'll share whatever captions you post, like your videos on YouTube. I'll share those around social media. Use the hashtag tongue fight. So
That
But yeah,
sounds
that's-
oddly sexual, Thomas.
I mean, they're speaking in tongues, so
I mean, the Godless Iowan was a Pentecostal preacher. He could speak in tongues for us.
oh yeah, can he do it right now?
Shanda
Get
Lamo
him on
Sentai,
here.
Halamo Shetai, Halamo Kai, Halamo Shedamakai, Halamo Kai.
you gotta turn your video back on for that.
Hold on, yeah, there we go.
Shanda Lamo Sentai, Halamo Shedamakai, Halamo Shedamakai, Halamo Shedamakai.
Do we have an interpreter? Do we have a spiritual interpreter in the
Mrs.
house?
Engineer, do you feel the Holy Spirit in you?
He says, "Stroke me good, and I will give you a present."
How'd you do that? You're right.
Oh my god.
Hallelujah.
Wow.
I figured it was perfect timing that we were all here while we're doing this stream. So you
Oh,
can just come and crash it.
that's amazing. I had no idea that I was gonna accidentally stumble into a bachelor party on my live stream with Professor Sick.
The Lord works in mysterious ways.
Yeah, to anyone who doesn't know, Surus has a channel, and as well as Godless Iowan and Godless Engineer, Caitlin Chloe, and it was Mrs. Snarky. They're all a part of the YouTube atheist community as well. So, but it looks like we have another person. Lou has just joined us. Is your mic working, Lou?
I had it turned off. Hi, just hi. No questions.
Hey, no questions. Well, welcome to the stream. Glad to have you.
Working.
He just wanted to hear the audio a few seconds ahead of time.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's the only reason I'm here. So no, I'm kidding.
I gotta get my stream like faster than everyone else. It's like in the future, you can like go into the live chat and ruin it for the rest of them. Like in 5 seconds, they'll start talking about speaking in tongues.
Actually, I'll have one question. Do you have any games about gods you like to play? I mean, in any way related to the religions?
Video games or like board games? Party games?
Yeah, it could be board games. Anyway.
Stick.
I don't think I've ever played games like that.
I know Heath, if you guys know him. He did a bunch of live streams playing a game called Left Behind, which is a post-apocalyptic game where pretty much all the Christians have left this world, and then like all the sinners are like still in like some corrupted world left over. So he streamed like the whole game, and it's like 10 hours long or something. It's a really old game. I don't know if you even want to play it because it seemed pretty bad. But that's the only game I know of.
I used to play when I was a Christian. I would play God trivia. It was like Bible trivia cards, and you would have to guess and like figure out. Like people would ask you questions, and you'd be like, "Oh no, that was in Second Chronicles when so and so said this," and yeah, it'd just be obscure Bible facts and stuff. But I feel like there has to be like a Bible drinking game. Like every time that there's like a mention of like genocide or rape, you just like read through the Old Testament and then just like take a shot.
Take a shot. You'd be dead by the end of it.
Anyone else know Bible games? There's got to be one. You could do like a the God's Not Dead movie. You could come up with like a drinking game for that.
At a lot of bar mitzvahs at my school, they would do like Torah trivia, and then they would give out prizes to those who got the answer right. And I never got a prize because I've never read the Torah.
Me neither.
So I guess there's a candy incentive or something for knowing your holy book. But there's got to be one. I would think like for Mormons or for Jehovah's Witnesses, there's got to be some type of game having to do with like holy Mormon underwear.
There's a version of the game Outburst that it has like a Bible edition. I'm just looked it up right now.
Ooh, Bibleopoly.
I don't know if it's in a. Ooh.
I kid you not. There's actually a game called Bibleopoly. Real quick, we have a. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just saying I just found the same game.
Bibleopoly.
Yeah.
Nice. Real quick, Daniel Hudson pledged $1.99 in the super chat. Thank you so much. And also Steve Bauman pledged $2.99, and he wrote to fight the woo-woo, or to fight woo-woo, like crazy pseudoscience. There's no chats yet for 666. There's usually somebody will pledge a super chat for 666. So we'll
usually zero will pledge 666.
Yeah, we're just waiting to see who's the devil, who's the Antichrist. We'll see. But
Antichrist for science hashtag.
Have you guys been aware of like any of the stuff that like the Satanic Temple has done to fight against like the 10 Commandments monuments or the after school?
Like the statue of Baphomet being placed at the Oklahoma courthouse?
Oh yeah.
No, I haven't heard about that.
Basically, I think it was in Oklahoma, but then several other states ruled that it wasn't a violation of the separation of church and state to have religious monuments or to have religious texts or prayers or things like that. And so, which to them in their mind is like the only religion is, the Christian religion. And so they didn't really expect to have other religions coming in. And it's like, what is science going to do? Be like, oh yeah, we have a monument to science. Like nobody's going to care. But the Satanic Temple, because all the Christians are like super superstitious and paranoid of anything Satan related, they went in and they brought in this giant like horned statue of Baphomet, and they're like, well, if you're gonna have a religious monument, then you have to open it up to all religions. And so they put that up, and it freaked out the all the religious people and who were supporting the Ten Commandments, and so they just took down the Ten Commandments monument. But it's one way to do it. So, Professor Stick, we've got you for about a little bit longer, but are there any projects, any videos, or anything that is coming up that you're excited about, that you're working on, that you're would like to talk about?
Yes, our collaboration.
You don't have to like that. If there's other stuff.
Leak the info.
Okay, well, aside from that, yeah, I have a few good ones. I want to tackle more on climate change. That's one of the topics that I definitely want to go over more, and I think it really polarizes like a lot of people believing it or not believing it. I think that's a really important topic. In my opinion, it's more important than other things like religion or like, I think it's more important than like talking about vaccinations, for example. Just my opinion, but I definitely need to talk more about that. I haven't done that a lot simply because I'm not really a climate expert. So I'm going to be doing that. And then in addition to that, I have a video coming up that is black water. If you guys don't know what it is, basically it's water infused with fulvic acid, which is pretty interesting. They claim it can do like a lot of things, like cure your cancer, for example. Pretty much everything cures your cancer now, guys. Just
cancer cure is basically the default.
Yeah. Yeah.
If it's not curing the cancer, it's curing the gay.
Yeah, I love how there are literally hundreds of alternative medicine remedies that cure cancer, and yet cancer rates are still there haven't been any major breakthroughs.
Yeah,
but
I know,
but jelly
right?
juice.
The jelly juice is the most effective, can confirm.
The salt content won't kill you.
To anyone not familiar, the Non Sequitur show had they went after, or they got a sample of this jelly juice, which is this product that's supposed to cure cancer, make everything better, and it also will make gay people straight again. And so I believe that Kyle actually took some jelly juice live on air, and didn't seem to make him any less gay.
What can it do? Go in and change your genetics?
I don't know. They've had crazier claims. But
yeah,
real quick, we did get a 666 super chat from Commander Zoot Helsing. Wrote, the Satanic Bible has a few good sex rituals. That's good to know. Are you sure that's
my favorite sex? My favorite sex ritual in the Bible is when you take the stuff from the bottom of the temple to see if your girl cheated on you.
Oh, this is amazing. Lizard Guy 4 wrote, homosexuality cures cancer. Got it. New conspiracy.
Oh God.
Wow.
And then Fred Harvey has a super chat for 777. That's what's the pseudoscientific woo you actually wish was true? Ooh, that's a good question. Is there any pseudoscientific woo that you wish was true?
Obviously, the ones that can cure cancer are probably one of the best ones to wish were true. We have like statistically, if you're a male, you have a 50% chance of getting cancer in your life. If you're a female, you have a 1/3 chance. So obviously, it's affecting so many people. If we can solve this, and also cancer is one of the biggest obstacles to achieving immortality. So if we actually had a cure that was this convenient, not only would it save a lot of people's lives, but we could advance science in ways and improve people's lives like we never thought we could. Things like extending people's lifespans, things like developing technology that would Actually, I'm not even sure what I'm going with this, but you know what I mean.
I think if we spliced everybody's DNA with lobsters the way Jordan Peterson wants, then maybe we could achieve biological immortality.
There was a claim by David Avocado Wolf that it was I forget the exact amount, but I think it was like 2.5 or 6.5 hours of inversions a day will turn you into an immortal so that you never age. And it's like, yeah, but you're spending your entire life like hanging upside down.
Wait a minute. I need to check that video out. Seems like a good video topic.
It's I have the clip, and I have a video on David Avocado Wolf, and it's basically, it's got in the thumbnail, it has a picture of him holding a giant yellow syringe, and it says, a urine vaccine, because he also said you should inject urine that 18-minute takedown. And one of the things that he says is that if you just flip upside down for like a certain number of hours every day, then you'll never age, and it turns you into an immortal. And so I've been working on my handstands,
there's no way I would even believe that he actually believes the things that he's spewing. Like, there's no way somebody actually believes in that, right?
Well, he's
got to be
a crap ton of money off of it.
Yeah, he's just a really good businessman.
I mean, you could think about the same thing about flat earthers. Do they really believe that though?
Okay, for flat earthers, I do think they actually believe it.
Yeah.
And I know some of them may be true, maybe trolls, but I don't think they're getting too much out of it per se. Like, they're in general on YouTube, they're not incredibly big. They don't get too many views and stuff like that. It's not like they're making a fortune out of it. But also, if you actually come and if you actually talk with a flat earther, either through text or through voice, they're really serious about it. Is what I would say.
What are your thoughts on flat Earth conferences?
Oh, jeez.
I actually did a video on the Flat Earth conference, pretending as if I attended one of the panels.
Would you ever attend?
I saw that video.
Yeah, you know what? I would attend, but of course I'm not going to reveal my identity or anything. But I would attend, maybe if I could get away with it, maybe record some things. Maybe I could talk with a flat earther or something like that. I think that would be funny. But the biggest thing about going to a Flat Earth conference is probably the amusement I would get out of that. I'm not even there for, I wouldn't even go there for like creating content or whatnot. It's more so I could look at them and go wow, you guys are this is sort of like an echo chamber where they're just spewing their own ideas, and then they actually have actual conferences where these people are talking about the earth being flat. That's just
so they'll travel, they'll hop on a plane and fly around the world to go to a conference.
Yeah, pay an
$600 to hear about how it's flat.
I would love to pull a Sacha Baron Cohen and interview one of these guys pretending to be on their side to just see what I can get them to say.
Oh, that would be amazing.
Something that kind of makes me a little bit nervous is these conferences, these flat earth conferences are gaining in popularity. So more and more, they have more and more people arriving at every conference, and
and they're better funded.
It's a little unsettling.
They're better funded. Like the atheist community, nobody's pouring money into it because they're tired of being told to tithe 10% of their income, and then they're like, yay, I don't have to invest financially in any kind of religious position anymore. And so what's happening is you have these multi-billion, and that's billion with a B, organizations like the Catholic Church that are funneling huge amounts of money into ads and into promoting this stuff and into churches and buildings and retreats and camps and ministry and missionary work and everything. And it's no wonder we're losing. We have truth, we have facts, we have data, we have science, but if we don't have the funding, then people will kind of get in the movement, get burned out, and then it fizzles out. And then you have very, very few people stay in this movement long term. Yeah. I can think of R.N. Ra's been in it for 20 years. Matt Dillahunty's been in it for a while. Other than that, people get burned out really quickly because they join the movement, and there's a ton of excitement at first, and then it's everyone has their own lives. No one's really super passionate about atheism super long, and we're completely outgunned and by both financially and in terms of numbers by the religious. I can understand it. But what would you see, Professor Stick, if you could change one thing within the skeptic slash atheist movement, if there was one thing that you could change, what would it be?
That's interesting. I'm not a huge participant in entirely in this movement. I'm more so like, other than YouTube, I don't really have a presence elsewhere. So
Discord.
yeah, Discord too. Let's see, the movement. I think one of the best ways we could approach, spread our message better is to simply, I think being less aggressive is definitely a good way. Making it so that we're not fighting this just because for the purpose of fighting, because I think a lot of people would actually come in and be less interested due to our attitudes. That's definitely one thing that we could do. And I think promoting the scientific method over anything else, in my opinion, is the best. Over logical reasoning, like I think logical reasoning can only get you so far. Scientific method is our best way. So I think it always comes back to that root. Start with the scientific method, explain to them why that is the best method, and then from there, then branch out to certain ideas like flat Earth, religion, and whatnot.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well,
how about you?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
If I could change one thing, I think that we get so uptight about little things, and we find things that we want to divide over. And for me, again, like my focus is not just on atheism. I am on the board of the Faithless Forum Conference. I am on the board of the Atheist Community of Tulsa. Like I am a part of the atheist movement. I go to conferences. But to me, it's not just about atheism. I do care about, and the reason I keep getting pulled back into talking about atheism is because in politics, I see people who they don't respect separation of church and state. So they try to pull, theocracy in and try to legislate from the Bible rather than from science. And so that, to me, is frustrating because I feel like it's slowing humanity down. But if I could change one thing within the atheist community, it's like, yeah, we all agree that you can be good without God. We all believe in separation of church and state. We all believe that, our laws should be based off of science. But everything else, we're so uptight about the differences in, oh, you believe a little bit differently about guns. Oh, you believe a little bit differently about abortion or about, any politically correct issue or something. It's like people have different beliefs depending on what they've been exposed to, what they've learned, what their upbringing is. And for some reason we assume that just because someone is an atheist that they agree with everything else that we do, and so we're so hostile when we find out that they don't. And it's like, I wish that we had a little bit more of a street epistemology style approach to these other topics that are not just about religion and God. That if we were a little bit more, like use the Socratic method and ask them like, well, why do you think that? Well, what if you saw this? What if you saw this information? Rather than just jumping on each other's backs and tearing people apart who otherwise are allies. And that's one thing that I've been kind of trying to change.
Oh yeah, because the way I see it right now is that the biggest dividing factor that is there right now is simply politics. Everyone gets worked over politics, and is also like, this is like the biggest reason why I don't cover politics on my channel, is simply because it just makes me so angry. So in a way, I can kind of understand why people would be so angry at each other when, they have different opposing political views. But at the same time, the way I see it is that, politics at the very end of it is very opinion based. It's not really much to do with science, which is why for me, not one political direction is necessarily the best. I do have my personal beliefs on what should be implemented and stuff like that, but I'll never cover that on my channel because I want to keep my channel as like a purely science based. And if I keep talking about politics, it's not really science based, it's going to divide people, and it just makes me angry. And so that's pretty much why I don't do it.
As a political scientist, I'd have to disagree with you. Because my background, is in political science and international studies, and I have, a lot of policies, people do have opinions on, but there are objective measurements. There are different things that you can say, when we take these actions, in these circumstances, you isolate certain variables and you can see the effect that it has on, the economy or on the population. The problem is it's not a well enough understood science yet. So something like economics, you can argue as to, what the best, route or method to take is. And even, Nobel Prize winning economists will disagree over certain things. And so we don't know enough about it because there's so many different variables, but there are things that we do objectively know. We do, we can say that, one of the best ways to bring any nation out of poverty is to, empower women, to give them control over their birth cycle, to, so they're not just treated like chattel, so that they're not just baby mills, but they can actually invest in the education of, the one kid or the two kids that they have rather than the 16 that, they've spit out. And, things like that we see systematically across the board. You change that one thing and you start seeing a country's economy rise. There's stuff like that that are objective, true, but at the same time there's rules that may also play into it. But it is a science. It very much is a science.
Oh yeah. I guess what I meant overall was I know that taking certain policies, the benefits or the cost or like the outcome of those are definitely objectively true, I would say. I guess what I mean by people's opinion is whether or not one option over another would be the best for a country to take. Comparing, like, for example, I think the biggest things that people disagree on in terms of politics is do the benefits justify the costs, something like that. I think that in particular would be opinion based. Whether or not it has benefits or has costs, those are definitely objective. But I think the interpretation of those are subjective.
Yeah. And a lot of it's values based.
Yeah.
Holy Koolaid, do you mind if I ask you a political science question?
Sure.
Well, today I learned something pretty interesting, which was that the founding fathers initially intended for there to be dozens of political parties in the U.S. so that people, because there is a diversity in political beliefs, that people aren't just extremely Republican or extremely Democrat. And the idea was that there would be many political parties, and now we only have two. And it is sort of ruining the point of the Electoral College. And I was wondering what you thought about that.
Well, the way that our election is set up, there's never going to be more than two. Like you can have smaller parties and stuff, but they're never going to amount to anything. And we've seen in the past, you had parties like the Whig Party or whatever that that would be replaced by other parties, but it always comes back down to two. And the reason behind that is it's a first past the post voting system. It's a winner takes all system. And so you're going to have people voting. Like if you have 10 different parties and nobody votes for 5 of them, then those ones, the next time an election rolls around, they're basically not even going to be contenders. No one's going to vote for them at all if they had, little to no votes. And so it's rather than people voting with the parties that are most aligned with their ideology, instead they'll vote for the one that is the least worst, that is the most likely to win. And so ideally we would have a ton of different parties, and there's different political systems that I can't cover it all right now, but there's different voting methods, electoral systems that you can set up that allow for multiple parties. So you can vote for the one that you like, and then if that one doesn't win, then you have a second option, and you voted for several different ones, but you line them up in order of like which ones you want first or want most. There's a CGP Gray did a fantastic video on voting systems, and I can link that in the description. But it's the way that we have our electoral system set up, it's never going to happen. But hopefully that answered your question. But Stick, I've kept you a few minutes longer. I know we started a couple minutes late, but is there anything that you would like to plug? Where can people find your work? And then I'll have a quick round. If anyone has one last question for you, then we'll do kind of a lightning round, and then we'll call it a night.
Well, yeah, you can find me at my channel. I didn't make it so that's /Professor Stick, so you're gonna have to get the link somewhere else. But
I put the link
you
in
can find me there. My Twitter is Stick Professor, so you can also find me there, or you can join my Discord, which is linked in the description of my videos. So cool. That's That's where you can find me.
Shoot me your Discord link, because I have your Twitter and your
Okay.
YouTube channel and your Patreon in the description on YouTube. I'll update it to include your Discord as well.
Okay, thank you. I'll get it right now.
And while you're doing that, a posteriori unum, if we have any Latin speakers that can translate that, pledged $6.66. Oh, he's contending for the Antichrist position. We got a contender. He wrote, "I don't think flat Earth will last long, but I still think it's dangerous because it opens up a bad way of thinking. I can't wait to meet one." I don't know about that. I mean, Christianity has lasted a long time, and you would have thought that would have fizzled out. What do you think, Professor Stick? Do you think you think flat earthers are here to stay?
I think that we probably won't ever get rid of flat earthers, in the same way that we will never get rid of people who believe in alternative medicine. But that doesn't mean that their numbers can't dwindle. And I think in the future, at least right now, they are increasing at quite an alarming rate. The amount of members that they have and stuff, and then now they're having bigger and bigger conferences. So I don't think soon that they're going to disappear, but I do think that eventually, especially after people lose interest or whatnot, or I mean, I guess in the future when we develop more, have more technological and scientific advancement, maybe it's going to be probably, it might go down, but I don't want to be too hopeful.
Do you think once we have interplanetary space travel and it's the cost of a plane ticket to just go into space and fly around the world, that maybe then
they'll be gone by then? But I'm not even.
They'll just be a couple recluses in caves somewhere.
In caves somewhere. Maybe some people who are separated completely from society. But yeah, we don't even know if we're gonna reach that stage due to the Fermi paradox. So maybe space travel is never even ever gonna be a thing. I can only hope, but
we can only hope. But so, lightning round. Any last questions? We'll start with Tovi.
I don't think so.
Surus? Surus is muted. He's gone. We lost Surus. Lou?
Oh no.
What's the most compelling flat earthers argument?
Let's see. Most compelling flat earth argument.
It looks flat.
It looks flat. That's probably, well, yeah. You see, all their arguments are not really good. But of course, out of these arguments, you could pick out the least hilarious one. And it's probably something they do show some pictures up in the atmosphere where it's wow, look, there's no curve. And I guess if you didn't know anything about, how cameras work and whatnot, you'd be okay, yeah, that's flat. So that's probably it.
Or just the distance.
Have you heard about the gyroscope in the airplane argument?
Oh, the gyroscope. Yeah, that's not a bad one, I guess.
Yeah, because if you don't count the errors, then that seems quite. I mean, yeah, when I first heard it, it sounded quite compelling, even though it wasn't building the case. It was just why that actually works. But yeah, errors were the source of it.
Yeah, you actually gave me a good video topic. Thank you.
No problem.
Tune in next time. Professor Sick will be talking about gyroscopes and airplanes. Cody?
More of a little bit of a personal question. How did you get the name Professor Stick? Where did you get that from?
Oh yeah, I talked about this earlier. I don't know if you were in the stream. Oh no, you weren't. You just got on.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Yeah. So, essentially, I made this channel, and it was never really meant to be something big. So I just thought of something on the whim. I knew I wanted it to be a stick figure because stick figures were easy to draw. And then, I guess the reason I picked Professor was simply because I wanted people to see my channel and go yeah, this guy knows what he's talking about. So even though I'm not a real professor, I picked that name, and then I had plans to change it later, but then I started growing, and then I never really got a chance to really change it. And now everyone knows me as this, so I just kept it.
You're a professor of atheism. You're a professor to all of us in the atheist community.
Thank you.
You're everyone's most lovable favorite that sounded dirty. It wasn't. I should just quit while I'm ahead. Real quick, we have another super chat from Michael J. Thank you for all the work. Y'all are amazing. I am a born-again atheist. I came to this conclusion after a flat earther told me that the earth is flat. What a joke. I'm assuming that it was like reading, some passage in the Bible that talks about the four corners and how, it's stretched out, and, the biblical description of the earth very much makes it sound like a flat disc.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Or a flat square thing. Whenever Christians want to start arguing for the flat earth from the Bible, I just really want to start like singing the Mario theme, kind of like a 2D, like doo 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 doo. We're in a flat world. It's flat. You realize that it's flat in a different dimension. But so we had two contenders for Satanhood, and commanders and apostore unum, and if either of them is able to, you can bid for Satanhood. You can bid 66, or just whoever bids the most. If either of them are still here, we'll see who's the real Satan. I don't know, but in the meantime, Professor Stick, thank you so much for coming on. This is a little bit of I had been planning to do a collaboration with you, but this is just a teaser because we have a video coming up. We're going to be talking about chi.
Oh yeah.
Chi. However you properly pronounce it. Energy healing. And what do you call it? Chi ignition. And we'll be going after that and kind of debunking it and looking into the history and the science of it as well. So we'll have two videos, one on each of our channels, kind of looking at the different angles of that. And I am really excited about that. That's going to be a super fun collaboration.
Oh,
so
really cool.
Stay tuned. Make sure you are subscribed to both of our channels. Click that notification bell to make sure that you don't miss it. I've got an email list if you want to sign up for that. I'll shoot out reminders because YouTube's notifications is kind of garbage. Professor Stick's on Discord. Go hang out with him there. We got another Megan Tyson. Megan Tyson pledged $1.99, but wrote 6.66 in the chat. That's not how it works. But that's awesome though. You're the honorary satanic contender, and it looks like a Commander Zoot Helsing pledged another 666 and wrote Hail Odin. So we have our Satan for the stream. Thank you guys so much. Go subscribe to Professor Stick. Check out Surus and his crew as well. Thank you, Tovi and Lou and Surus and Cody for joining us, and for everyone for your continued support on Patreon. And I'll give the last word to Professor Stick and just end it with "Don't drink the Kool-Aid."
Thank you so much for having me on. This has been really fun, and I am looking forward to the final product of our collaboration, because that's going to be the biggest project this year for me.
Fantastic. And you want to close us out?
Don't drink the Kool-Aid. I'm not sure.